Jill and I are here at GYC, and we met a really incredible young man by the name of Gideon McWilliams. And what's happened to him is incredible. It's basically, I think I get this right, 893 quadrillion to 1. His experience, he's been bitten by a rattlesnake. He was basically mauled by a black bear or a bear, and bitten by a shark. And he survived all of them.
He looks quite healthy.
He does. Yeah, he's a young man, 20 years old. So, Dylan, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're busy here at GYC, but I know that God has given you a tremendous mission, too, and we want to talk about that. But I know our viewers at home, listeners at home, are curious as to exactly what took place, because all this, what I just mentioned, happened within a period of, what you said, 2.5 years.
Yeah, 2.5 years.
Starting out with a rattlesnake bite. And I wanted to mention this too, you're not out there trying to provoke these things to happen. This just happened to you in just your normal life. So let's start with the rattlesnake.
So the rattlesnake happened in Moab, Utah. I was doing some search and rescue training. We were rappelling, and I ended up hiking out of this canyon, and it was getting dark, and I was ahead of the group a little bit, and I ended up kicking a cactus. That's what I thought.
So you had like a little sharp pain.
Yeah, I was like, what in the world? And I started looking around. I didn't hear anything, and there was a tiny little pygmy rattlesnake right on the ground right next to me. And I started looking at my leg, and I had 2 little bite marks right on the top of my foot pretty much, and I was pretty worried.
Yeah. So that's really scary. So what do you think? What goes through your mind when you realize you've been bit by a rattlesnake?
Yeah.
And you're out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, I was 3 miles from the nearest road, and it was getting dark, and I was thinking, man, if this gets any worse, I'm going to have to call a helicopter. I was thinking, it was like running through my head. Everyone with me was like kind of freaking out. They're like, we got to carry you out. I'm like, just wait 10 minutes, and if I don't have any symptoms, it was most likely a dry bite.
What does a dry bite mean?
It means it didn't inject any venom, and 60% of rattlesnake bites are dry bites.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So I decided to take my chances, and I sat down and I started praying and waiting, and sure enough, 10 minutes, I didn't have any symptoms. I was like, well, I'm going to wait 20. I waited 20 and no symptoms, so I decided I'd start hiking out. So.
You know, I think for me, and I know this is probably not a good thing when you're bitten by a snake, I think I would have just taken off running to 3 miles to the road.
Yeah. I thought about it, but no, I was pretty, I did get a little sick that night. I did throw up a few times, but that was it.
So you didn't, you hiked out the 3 miles and then you didn't go to the hospital?
No,
or you didn't?
I didn't.
Wow.
Because you weren't getting any major serious
I wasn't getting
symptoms.
any symptoms like swelling or nothing really.
So take us back before we go to the next instance. You're out, you said, doing search and rescue. You're kind of out in the wilderness there. So
doing some training.
When did you first develop a love for the outdoors?
I guess my whole life, when I was 3, my grandpa gave me my first knife, and I started going camping with him and hiking, and we would go on camping trips together for weekends or weeks at a time, and he was teaching me everything he knew, because in Michigan he grew up there and he had to hunt for his food, and he taught me everything he knows, and I just fell in love with it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and ever since been like that.
So that happening to you out there in the wilderness, obviously then being outdoors doesn't scare you, because you were out camping or doing something and a bear attacked you.
Yeah, so I was...
So, okay, so actually, how many months or days happened since the rattlesnake bite to when you were
It was about a year,
attacked?
a little over a year.
Okay.
And then
you were outside?
I was outside, yeah. I was working at Glacier View Ranch as the survival instructor, in Colorado. And I decided to sleep out with some of my friends out in front of the lake, and they were actually afraid of the moose. They're like, will you sleep out here with us? We're afraid of the moose is coming in that night, because it had been out there.
So you were protection against the moose?
Apparently.
Okay.
And they parked a vehicle there, and I just laid down. I fell asleep pretty quick. And about 4 in the morning, I woke up to a crunch is what I remember. And all of a sudden, I was out of my sleeping bag and being drugged away, and I started yelling and screaming bear. And
so you knew it was a bear?
I knew it was. It's weird, but I remember the smell.
What did it smell like?
It was awful, like a dump. That's what it smelled like. It was, and then
So, was there instant pain when the bear grabbed you?
No, I didn't even feel. I just remember feeling and hearing the crunch, and being drugged, and I just started punching the bear, poking it in its eyes, and it was just dragging me. And when it got me a little ways away, and then it dropped me and kind of stood on top of me, and by then the people that I was with kind of were sitting up and trying to figure out what was going on, because at 4 in the morning you're what in the world?
And you're yelling, bear,
Yeah,
bear.
I'm yelling bear, and they started shining their lights, and one of the guys saw it like on me and started yelling, and it kind of just walked away. And then I like crawled back, and I remember while I was crawling, like all of a sudden I couldn't see. I was like thinking I was going blind.
Why couldn't you see?
The blood had all ran into my eyes.
Oh.
So I
Okay,
remember
so the bear grabbed you by the
he
head.
grabbed me by the head.
That was the crunch.
That was
That's
the
just what
crunch.
I was thinking. The crunch was him grabbing
Yeah.
your head
skull.
in his jaws.
Where did it grab you?
Right in the back of the head. And I got pretty lucky because I was sleeping on my stomach, like looking this way, and the bear came in and grabbed me right here. So if I had been rolled over at all and it grabbed my neck or my face, one of the bite marks is like right next to my spine in the back of my neck pretty much. And I mean, it's...
And we're going to say that the Lord protected you.
Yeah.
Or was lucky. I'm
Yes.
saying God
Oh,
was
I
there
know.
protecting you.
Everyone tells me, oh, you're lucky. And I'm like, no, I don't think I'm lucky. I'm like, God has a plan for me. And
So you obviously have a pretty good head wound then. If the blood is running into your eyes and you
Yeah.
can't see, so you're out on a camp, what happens next?
So they were like, it was kind of cool. One of the news agencies got the 911 call. Like they played it on the news.
Oh, wow.
And they were, like one of the directors was saying, there's a lot of blood. We need you to get here quick. And quick is like, Boulder's like 40 minutes away. So the EM, finally some people get there and took like 40 minutes.
So did you pass out, or what happened to you during
I
that
don't
time?
think I did. I remember them asking me questions and like taking a picture of me and like I'm smiling there.
Were they trying to stop the blood
Yeah.
flow? Or?
They had, well, back up a little bit, when I thought I was going blind, they were telling me it's just the blood, it's just the blood. And I was like, no, I can't see anything. And they like washed the blood out of my eyes, and I was like, then they took a picture of me, and I'm like all smiling.
Because you could see.
Yeah.
So tell us about the injury then. So did they have to obviously put staples or stitches?
Yeah, I had quite a few staples in my head and like a few bruises and stuff, but not too bad. So it could have been a lot worse.
Did it actually fracture your skull?
They said I had a few like hairline fractures, but nothing punctured. They were worried and they were doing like MRIs and all that kind of stuff to see. So
How long of a recovery?
I was actually, they offered that I could stay in the hospital that day, and I told them no. So I went back to camp
That's
that
pretty tough.
afternoon.
I think we'll just
Yeah,
interject
it's really
right
tough.
here. Dylan's pretty tough. Ooh.
Well, for one thing, he's not afraid to go back out in the wild. You know, he's out there, got bit by a rattlesnake. He still loves the outdoors, goes out, camping in Colorado.
No.
Right. Did you think you were going to die?
I mean, it crossed my mind. Like when it was dragging me away, even though it was like, he only dragged me like 15 feet, and it was like that. I still like my whole life flashed before me. I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm like screaming and like it's not stopping. Like it was moving quick. Like I felt like a rag doll. It just like right out of my sleeping bag.
And you were trying to hit it
Yeah.
with your
Poking it in the eyes, anything I could. It was the ranger came and he told me if I had been there alone, it would have like killed me right there. But since the other people were with me, it was going to drag me away. So I'm glad they were with me.
Wow.
Do you even have time in a moment like that to pray or cry out to God, or you can't even think
I
that?
can't even think. Like I don't even remember what I was thinking. I just remember thinking like it was scary, especially waking up. It's like not something you want to wake up to.
So we fast forward another year. Is it another
Yeah,
year and you
about.
got attacked again by a different animal?
Yeah, I was actually went to Hawaii. It was my second time there. First time I went, I just went for 2 months and just backpacked around. This next time, I decided to go for 2 weeks, and it was actually kind of cool. I was on the north shore of the island doing a huge like flooding, and I was helping out there a little bit. And then I was all disappointed because all the water was murky, and I'm like, I want to go surfing and snorkeling and all that. So I went to the south shore, and it was like beautiful, like great. And I was like, I'm gonna go surfing here. So the next morning, I got up at like 7 and I paddled out on my board, and I caught one like really good wave. I was all excited. I was like, today's gonna be
It's
great.
gonna be a great day.
On my way back out, I got knocked off my board by something. Something hit me, and I was like, what in the world? I started looking around, and like all of a sudden I saw blood just coming up into the water.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, I knew exactly what had happened because I had lots of wordings. Everybody told me, oh, don't get in the water, you're gonna get attacked by a shark. So I knew what it was, and I was only like 30 yards from shore, but it felt like a swim like forever. And as I started swimming back, I saw the shark come underneath me again, and I started
Okay.
kicking at it, and I kicked it once.
So you actually touched it with your leg.
With my foot.
With your good leg, the
My
one that
good
wasn't
leg.
bit?
I didn't even know if I had my other leg. I didn't even look. I was just swimming for
So
shore.
you didn't know if it had actually even taken part of your leg off.
Yeah, I had no idea. So I started swimming, and I remember getting to shore and being like, oh, like I was so happy I got to shore. And I stood up, and like I was even more happy because I had my leg. It was like there, and I looked at my leg, and I just saw like all the blood coming down. And there was a lady that was, because there were 3 other people out in the water, and I didn't even think to tell them. I just started
There's a
swimming.
Yeah.
Once I got to shore, I was like, I should probably tell them. So I started yelling.
Yeah.
But
So then did you call for help? Was there someone there? Or?
There was a lady that came and saw everything and was like, hey, would you just get attacked by a shark? And I was like, I think so. And she said she was going to go get the lifeguard medic, and I was like, okay, that's not too bad. I don't really want to be on the news again and like make a big deal about it. But pretty soon I hear fire trucking, like the sirens and all that, and they all just drive up onto the beach, and I'm like thinking like, oh no.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. And then like, I remember I called my dad, and like I'm kind of laid back, and like I wasn't too worried, and I called him, and I wasn't like, didn't sound all worried. And I talked to him, and he's like, I don't believe you. He's like, I don't believe you. And I'm like,
So you're saying, hey Dad, I just got
I was like,
attacked.
hey Dad, I just got bit by a shark. And he's like, uh-huh, sure. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. And the lady took the phone out of my hand, and like she's like, I'm going to send you pictures. He just crawled out of the ocean with a shark bite on his leg. Wow.
So this is obviously going through your mind like, I can't believe this. I was just attacked by a bear a year or so before.
I remember standing up and being like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, unbelievable.
So did you need stitches, staples?
Yeah, I had quite a few stitches in my leg. But I mean, I was living on the beach, like in a hammock, so I didn't have a place to stay, so I went back to the beach that day and ended up at the same beach because it was like the only clear beach.
So after they stitched you up?
After they stitched me up, I went back to the beach, and they told me I couldn't get in the water for 2 weeks. And I was like, well, that's the whole time I'm here. Right. So I was like, well, can you give me an antibiotic? And they're like, well, if we give you the antibiotic, you can't get in for over a week. And I'm like, okay, well, give me the antibiotic. So it lasted about 3 days. And then I got back in the water.
And with your wound?
Yeah, I wrapped it in saran wrap and duct tape and went back surfing the same beach.
So you weren't scared
amazing.
to go back in?
I was shaking I remember when I was paddling out because I wanted to go out the same exact spot.
So you did?
I did. I paddled out to the same spot, and I sat there, and I was like, kind of like every little rock I saw, I was looking because it was like 15 feet of water.
So what type of shark attacked you?
It was about a 7.5-foot tiger shark.
Wow, so that's incredible.
Yeah. They saw it later that day, but that was it. They never saw it again.
So Dylan, obviously God has spared your life.
Yeah.
Where, you go through a rattlesnake bite, attacked by a bear, attacked by a shark, all within a span of what you say two and a half years or so. And we're mentioning at the beginning the odds of this are 893 quadrillion to 1. It's incredible to be attacked by.
I know.
Yeah, it's incredible. But God has spared you for a reason. On your shirt, and I like this, it says Gideon Rescue Company. Tell us why. I mean, you can tell us what that's all about because God has you here for a purpose. Obviously, you're 20 years old, a young man, but you've mentioned several things about training for certain things. So tell us about that mission and why you feel that God has spared you. So,
I mean, I went to Daystar Academy, and they started up a program to like train the kids in like EMR, swiftwater rescue, high angle rescue, and I love that kind of stuff, like the adrenaline rush, all that. So I really got into that, and the first bit of it we got is we went to Jamaica and we trained the whole fire department in triage and rescue and swiftwater, all that. And I was like, this is great, I got to do this more. And I kind of like went away from that and started doing some other work, and I was like, I got to get back in this. So the directors called me after
the directors
of Gideon Rescue Company.
Okay.
They called me after Hurricane Florence in North Carolina, and they said, hey, we're going, do you want to come? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I kept thinking, and I was like, I'm just going to go. And I went, and it was really great. Like, it changed my life. We went, and we didn't technically do any rescues that trip because we got there kind of late, but the whole reason we were going, we weren't going to rescue, we were going to share the gospel.
Amen.
Giving people, we went to like the Red Cross shelters and just handed out tons and tons of glow tracts, as many as we could, and praying with people, and they're so much more receptive. They're like, why in the world is this happening? Like, what did we do? And I'm like, we started telling them, this is not God. This is like, and like,
right.
it was
the
great.
Enemy.
Yeah,
It's
it's the
Satan.
enemy. It's great to see them open up to that, especially after all that. And so then I was all fired up about that. I'm like, I gotta be part of this more. And we get back, and not too long after that, Indonesia, the earthquake and the tsunami that hit Indonesia.
Yes.
There were several thousand people that ended up dead, and I ended up going to Indonesia and like.
And doing what? What were you doing
I
there?
was doing body recovery.
Okay, wow,
So,
that's tough.
You know, I saw a lot of things like I wish I hadn't seen, but I was able
to help people.
to help people and do what I could to just share the gospel, because it's a 95% Muslim country.
Oh, wow.
And you weren't really liked at all. But I didn't see any Americans, anybody there the whole time I was there. The people there even told me, they're like, you're the first like missionaries that have even come to this church, because there was an Adventist church, and man, there's just miracle after miracle. Like, we got picked up by the military, well, I did, and told I was going to be put on a plane and shipped back immediately. And they said they put a guard on me and they set me down, and I was like thinking, I'm going to jail. Like, I was worried, and all of a sudden they got distracted, and I just felt impressed to get up. I stood up, and they were like standing around me, just like you guys all are here, and I just walked away.
And they did.
And they didn't
Walked right
stop
out-
you?
Didn't
They
stop
didn't-
me.
And then you
They never
continued
even
your
looked at me.
rescue missions after
I
that.
just walked right out the gate and continued.
Kind of reminds me of Peter back
It
in the Bible. In the
does,
Bible
just
times.
walking out of the prison.
And it happened twice.
Wow.
Once at the airport and once at the military base.
And I know you've helped out with another hurricane
Yep.
since as well.
Yeah, I went to Hurricane Michael, and that was the day after I got back from Indonesia.
That hit the Florida Panhandle.
Yeah,
And all,
Mexico City
Yep.
and Panama City and all that.
You know what's amazing? You
Yeah.
think of natural disasters. People are hurting at that time. They
Yeah.
have questions. They're in need of help and hope. And what an
Yeah.
opportunity for you and Gideon Rescue to be
Yeah.
able to go and minister.
That's why I love doing it, because you kind of, like, a lot of times you have to go on mission trips, you have to do all this planning, all this. A natural disaster hits, you're like, you
Yeah,
got to go
you
now.
have to go.
Drop
That's
whatever
right.
you're doing and go on faith. Like, this is where I need to go. And I mean, it was great. We worked a lot with the Red Cross and the National Guard and law enforcement, and just handing out supplies, talking with people, praying with people, and handed out tons and tons of glow tracts.
You know what it is, talking with Dylan, I think you can probably see this as well. You know, he's really excited. He's passionate about what he loves to do, and that's helping other people. So for you, you've had things happen to you, but you've not let that just take you down, but you've let it, well, you've grown from it. And so when you go out and actually reach other people that have had devastating things happen to them, you can say, hey, you know what, this happened to me, and this is how God carried me through.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Amen. Thank you so much for taking the time to
Thank you
share
for
with us
having me.
here at GYC. We're just excited what God is doing in your life, and the Lord spared your life
Oh,
from
yes, for
those three
sure.
attacks for a purpose, and it's exciting to see that purpose begin to unfold, but I know God has great plans for your life, so thank you so much.
Thank you
Dylan.
so much. Nice
Thank
to
you.
meet
Thank you.
All right, yeah, God bless you.
Thank you.